Welcome back. I'm Clinton Holliday and this is The Curious Rebel. Well, a couple of weeks ago, while addressing a group of BC businessmen on an online forum, Mr. O'Toole, our leader of the opposition Federal Conservative Party, was asked his opinion on electoral reform. His response? He doesn't see a need to change anything. The voting system is fine. But he is considering mandatory voting. A typical Conservative Party approach. Deflect the question, propose a solution that has absolutely nothing to do with the problem, and completely ignore the actual root of the problem. Now, turnout at federal elections, basically any election, is abysmal. That's a fact. But forcing people to vote on threat of penalty is not the answer. That may raise the participation rate, but that in and of itself is of no value without conscientious representative voting. The problem has two key issues: our electoral system and the lack of trust in our politicians. We must get rid of winner-take-all, first-past-the-post elections. We must implement some form of proportional representation. Now, I'll do a segment on that later on, closer to an actual election call. As for trust, we need politicians that rise above politics and work for the betterment and well-being of Canadians, the world, and the environment. Not those that cower at the risk of doing something new, that rehash the same old policies with new, exciting, and catchy names, and callously break the promises that got them elected in the first place. Re-election, gaining or retaining power, should not be the goal. Harold Laswell, a leading American political scientist, says politics is who gets what, when, and how. Sadly, for the most part, Canadian politics has a less than stellar track record. Our delineation and separation of the issues and the political base continues to escalate, such that who, when, and how are the individual and corporate elite as soon as possible, and on the backs of the workers, the racialized, and the otherwise marginalized. Now, we are not alone in this evolution, but we can solve the problem. We must hold those accountable to account. And that brings us back to electoral reform. Other views are welcome. I'm Clinton Holliday, and this is The Curious Rebel.